The relationship between Washington and Tehran has reached a critical juncture. Currently, the United States is pursuing a multi-layered strategy involving economic sanctions, diplomatic pressure, and military deterrence. The primary goal is to prevent nuclear proliferation and curb regional influence. The U.S. continues to tighten the maximum pressure campaign. By targeting Iran's oil exports and banking sectors, the U.S. aims to limit the resources available for Iran's defense programs. However, this has led to significant inflation within Iran, affecting the daily lives of its citizens. On the diplomatic front, the U.S. remains cautious about the JCPOA nuclear deal. While there are back-channel talks, the U.S. is also strengthening alliances with Middle Eastern partners to counter drone and missile threats. The presence of U.S. naval assets in the Persian Gulf serves as a silent warning against any disruption of global trade routes. The future remains uncertain. Will these steps lead to a new treaty, or will the friction spark a larger conflict? The world watches closely as these two powers navigate the thin line between diplomacy and confrontation. Beyond physical borders, a silent war is being fought in the digital realm. The United States has ramped up its cyber defense capabilities to protect critical infrastructure from alleged Iranian hacking attempts. Simultaneously, Washington is using sophisticated technology to bypass internet shutdowns in Iran, aiming to provide citizens with access to the global web. Major part of the U.S. strategy involves dismantling the network of regional proxies. By sanctioning leaders of groups in Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen, the U.S. attempts to isolate Tehran. This containment policy is designed to reduce Iran's strategic depth without engaging in a direct, full-scale military invasion. The U.S. is not acting alone. Washington is working tirelessly to align its European and Asian allies under a single policy framework. By coordinating with the EU and G7, the United States ensures that economic sanctions have a global reach, making it harder for Tehran to find alternative markets for its resources. Despite the tension, the door to diplomacy is never fully closed. The U.S. often signals its willingness for dialogue, provided that Iran meets specific conditions regarding human rights and missile testing. The world is at a crossroads. Will these measures force a return to the negotiating table, or will the maximum pressure lead to a total breakdown of relations? While the U.S. sanctions are aimed at the government, the reality on the ground in Iran is often a humanitarian struggle. The United States has established humanitarian channels to allow medicine and food to reach the Iranian people. However, critics argue that the banking restrictions still make it difficult for life-saving supplies to enter the country, creating a complex ethical debate in Washington. A significant pillar of the current U.S. approach is supporting the aspirations of the Iranian people. Through public statements and digital diplomacy, Washington expresses solidarity with civil rights movements. The U.S. believes that internal pressure for reform, combined with international isolation, is the most sustainable way to change Tehran's behavior on the global stage. The U.S.-Iran conflict is no longer just a bilateral issue. It is a tug-of-war between global superpowers. As the U.S. pushes for isolation, Iran is leaning closer to China and Russia. The 25-year Strategic Cooperation Agreement with Beijing provides Iran an economic lifeline, challenging the effectiveness of the American dollar-based sanction system. 2. Counter Iran's influence. The U.S. is fostering historic shifts like the Abraham Accords. By encouraging ties between Israel and Arab nations, Washington is building a new regional security architecture. This strategy aims to create a unified front that reduces the burden on U.S. military forces while maintaining a balance of power that favors American interests in the long run.